I do have a few housekeeping things that I want to be sure to let everybody know about. For those of you that are at our distant sites today, I want to remind you all to turn in your evaluations at the end of the day. When you turn in your evaluations, they'll come back to us, and we will send your certificate to the address that you've given us on your sign-in sheet. For those of you that are here, it's the same process as it was yesterday. You'll turn in your evaluations at the door, and we'll hand you your certificates at the end of the day. Those of you that are at our site, everybody should have gotten a red ticket today. Did everybody get one? Okay, if you didn't get one, stop by the registration desk. Those tickets you'll want to hold on to throughout the day, because at the end of our brunch, during the last 15 minutes of the brunch, we're going to start doing raffles for the baskets that are left out at the reception desk, which I'm sure several of you guys saw the baskets sitting back there yesterday. I also want to remind everybody, and I know I'm talking a mile a minute, but I'm just trying to get moving forward here. I want to remind everybody that we do have a raffle for those of you that would like to go into our geriatric website and complete the survey. And we do have somebody manning that station today, my son, who probably should be in school, but this is a special occasion. Anyway, he's there to help anybody and everybody that would like to do that. And no, I'm not a bad mother. I know that sounds terrible. He's really excited to be here too. And we also, I want to remind everybody that if you've completed that interview template and or the elder care story survey, that you'll turn those into the registration desk, and we're giving blue raffle tickets for that as well. So we are accepting those back in now. So, all right. I also want to make sure that we give a special thank you to Robert Parker and Carter Thompson. Those are our IT and our video conference people. I have to tell you that they have worked very, very hard on making this happen so that we can get everything recorded and that you guys will have opportunities to see these sessions at a later time. And one last thing, and that is recycling your tags. If you choose to, we will accept tags back at the end of the conference, and we'll recycle them for next year's conference. So, okay, with that being said, I want to introduce you guys to Miss Reno Charette. I want to take a moment to formally introduce you to her. Reno was raised on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation and is an enrolled member of the Crow tribe and a descendant of the Turtle Mountain Chippewa. Reno is also the current director of the American Indian Outreach at Montana State University Billings, where she teaches courses in Native American Studies. Reno organizes many cultural events, including the annual powwow, the American Indian Heritage Day, Native American Heritage Month, and Hispanic holidays. And that's just to name a few. Reno is a very, very busy woman, so we're very glad to have her here. She comes to us today with a great wealth of experience in coaching others in methods of integrating cultural diversity competencies in the workplace. Today, Reno will be speaking to us about culturally competent elder care from an American Indian perspective. So please join me in welcoming Miss Reno Charette. And I was stealing some of your time. Okay, we have to have this mic on. You can clip it, okay, or you can just leave it sitting. Okay. And that one will record your voice to the distant sites.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Well, hopefully you can all hear me. I'm going to have to run my PowerPoint here alongside of me. It's great to be here. There's a lady in the back that's from France, and she can say my name so beautifully. Would you mind telling the group how to properly say my name? Isn't that pretty? When we Americanize everything and we lose the beauty of it. I am also the descendant of the French fur traders that came to this country in the early part of our history and married Indian women. So that was at least 8, 9 generations ago. Let's see. Let's start with just a quick review of the tribes in Montana that we're talking about. I have the reservations noted on the map, and the titles of the reservation are right underneath each of the segments within the map. But the boxes, the text boxes on the outside, give greater detail about the tribes that live on that reservation. For example, my reservation, the green one that borders Wyoming, it's called the Crow Reservation, but it's actually the Absaliga Nation. And it's a trend today that many of the tribes are going back to their original names. A popular one that you may have encountered before is the Pima Indians are now the Tohono O'odham. So it makes it challenging for people that are trying to understand their native population. We're always in transition because our culture is alive. So what you knew 10 years ago is not enough to be real effective in contemporary times. Even our language is changing. In the Northern Cheyenne language, there is a word for computer. And I love to write that out because the word is so long, it takes the full width of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. One of the first things that is important to understand when you're working with another culture is part of their history. And this slide talks about the effects of racism, that there is a bad history and the traumas from one generation to the next are handed down. And even though our current population of youth may not be the population that experienced the boarding schools where a lot of trauma occurred to families and children, they inherit that sentiment. It's almost like in your bones that you have some of those attitudes and feelings and values. Another group that might have a similar experience are the descendants of survivors of the Holocaust. That those traumas are so significant that they stay in families and in populations for generations long. So as workers dealing with another culture, you're going to encounter that at times. I believe that you have access to these slides, so the ones that have lots of text, I don't want to read them to you. Is that okay? Do our sites, our distant sites, do they have access to the PowerPoints? I'm hoping that they can download them as well. Wellness from a native perspective. That's the goal of your work. And that's the reason why you want to learn how this is going to work better for you in working with the native client. I guess the big thing to note is that the perspective of wellness is about living a well-balanced life in all segments of your life. Everything is in balance. So that's a difficult task for those of us in the modern world because it's very easy to subsist on fast food, and we're busy people, and we might be encouraged to do that. But too much of that leads to obesity. So you can see how this keeping life in balance is a challenge. It's a challenge as contemporary people, and it's a challenge culturally. Even our elders living in the modern world have to really work at that. But when people are in crisis, and I'm sure that those of you that work with elders, our elders have a lot of unexpected things that happen with them in terms of their health. So the family will roll through these crises related to their elders' health. And you'll find that a family, the individual patient and the family will seek that return to the balance. You know, what can I do? What areas of my life do I need to make adjustments in to have balance? It's not necessarily about cure the thing, whatever the thing might be, that's causing someone to have difficulties in their life. It's more about a goal towards quality of life. So those areas that the Great Plains region share in common this philosophy of balance. Whoops, where'd it go? Disappeared. Here we go. The spiritual aspect of your life is as important to your well-being and health as the emotional, the physical, and the mental. And our native healers will counsel their patient in all those quadrants of their life as they're related to any issue that you might have. I brought Linwood Tallbull to the University of Montana when I worked in the School of Pharmacy and had him speak to my students. And he asked me to come up. All the students were young, and asked me to tell him what my ailments were. I said, well, I have a pacemaker. He said, where is it? I said, it's right here. He goes, oh, it's on your left side. He said, what else you got? I said, well, I tore my ACL and I have a meniscus tear from a sledding accident. Oh, that's on your left side. And I thought, oh my God, what's on the left side that I don't know about? And he said that when you have a left side injury in the heart area, that it means that the love that you are seeking is not being returned. I go, oh, wow, I'm in a divorce. That's true. And then he said, when you injure your knee on the left side, that means that you're seeking to be understood and that it's not occurring. And I thought, God, I got 3 teenagers. So I thought that was pretty profound. One of the situations that you have to deal with is long-term planning. And in that effort, trying to build some family consensus is an interesting journey to be on, you as a provider and also as the member of the family going through it. So one of the things I wanted you to know is about the roles that are in an Indian family. And it's important to find out who's in charge. And you might have to be patient. Because when an Indian family is going through a crisis where perhaps an elder is near the end of their life, the family roles are in transition. So I am naturally the boss of my family, and they all know it. Because in the Crow culture, we're a matriarchal society, and our descendancy runs through our mothers. I'm a member of the Ties the Bundle clan, and I get that from my mother, who is the Ties the Bundle. But the other interesting aspect is that I'm the eldest daughter, and that entitles me to certain authorities within the family. My mother is the eldest daughter, and she was my grandmother's eldest daughter. So we're socialized to be in charge at an early age. So when I turned 4, I celebrated my 30th birthday. So when we have elders that are no longer able to hold their authorities in the family, to be the boss of celebrations, you'll see the younger women stepping up to do those roles, and the elder women then become more like the honorary leader of the event. Everything that happens in Indian country is the work and the design of women. We cleverly put our men in front to make them think they are in charge. So as you're working with elders and their health conditions can change rapidly, it's a moving target. And it's a moving target for you from a medical perspective. It's also a moving target in what's going on with the family. So it's important to do some relationship building with that family to see who's the speaker of the house, who's the minority leader. You know, you can give them titles that make sense to you, and you can watch how they are assuming their roles. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But having had to go through this with my 94-year-old grandmother, it seemed like just as we got all the paperwork done for the nursing home, and it seemed like the finances were going to work out, her health condition changed, and then everything else changed. And we had to maintenance it all the time. And that was very difficult because we didn't know how to do that. What we did know how to do was kind of hang together as a family and talk quietly about things and be able to talk about it in very clear